Are we
Hi,
good? Are we recording?
hi there, everyone. My name is Gerald,
My name is Jasenia.
and we're going to talk about the picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And in case you see another familiar face pop up, this is my cat Nugget. She's on my bed, and so she's kind of coming back and forth, so don't worry about her.
Adorable.
But we found a specific passage that we wanted to share because we're going to talk about a couple different themes. We were going to talk about how love is represented in the novel, and then we were also going to talk about um, the self and other,
Also the horror and madness.
and horror and
I think there's
madness.
also some imagery of destruction or deformity. I can't tell which one it is, but I think that's also key.
Right, for sure.
Do you want to read? Should we read the passage?
Yeah, do
Or-
you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I
Or
can go ahead. I really love this one. Okay, so this is found on page 63, and I think it's we think it's a good passage because it kind of transitions Dorian's first perspective about love to now his future perspective about love, which is more self-interested. So it's where oh sorry, did I just say Basil? It's Basil, right? It's
I
Basil,
say
I'm sorry.
Basil. I
Okay,
mean,
so it reads, Dorian, Dorian, she cried, before I knew you, acting was the one reality of my life. You came, oh my beautiful love, and you freed my soul from prison. You taught me what reality really is, end quote. So I think in this passage, we decided to think about it as Sybil finally realizing that true love is dependent on devotion. So she's looking at love more from a traditional perspective that we kind of see in marriages today. And I think that this scared Dorian. I think this was the point where he realized that this love was not the type of love that he was going for. So I think this is where he kind of walks away from that perspective.
I completely agree. And as the novel points out, she's a Shakespearean actress, and Henry and Dorian go to see her perform, but she's not at like grand grand theaters or anything. She's at like
Mhm.
back alleyway or lower
That's
class
what I imagined.
theaters.
Hmm.
Right. And they basically Henry brings it up to him and instills the idea in him, I think, that is she worthy enough of you because she's performing at this kind of theater, this is the kind of person she is.
Yeah.
Um, and basically Dorian just outright tells her, "Hey, I'm not in love with you anymore, and I don't want to."
Do you think that he sort of planted that idea maybe?
Oh, for sure. I think a hundred
I
percent.
didn't see that.
I think 100% he starts planting that idea within Dorian. And I think that's sort of when we see a lot of Dorian change.
Okay.
Um, at
But
least
it's
that's the way
interesting
I
though,
interpreted
however,
it.
that Basil is there all the time. Well, he was there, right, to see her. He was kind of like the angel voice, the
Hmm.
good voice telling him to kind of listen to his instincts or like what he thought about her as an actress.
I always thought when I read Dorian Gray, I always think of Henry and Basil on each one of Dorian's
That's what I
shoulders.
pictured. I'm like the devil and the
Yes,
angel.
an angel
But
and a devil figure.
I have to admit that Harry is very likable. I very much liked him. He's too honest, and I think he could come across as a know-it-all and irritating and annoying. But I think because he's so straightforward, I think I really like his honesty. And a lot of the things that he says could be true.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, he's very blunt and straight to the point. And I don't think he really cares what society thinks or what anyone else thinks. He just wants to get, his view out there and he's just speaks his mind, so to speak.
I didn't know he was married. At first, I thought he was just like another bachelor, like just among the friends,
Right.
because
Because his
Basil
wife is
wasn't
barely
in a
mentioned.
relationship. Because he's so free-spirited.
Right.
He was, and then
And he's just like,
finally, you
that's
know,
just the kind of marriage that we have and it works for us. And basically, I guess what we would call today an open marriage.
yes, that's what I was thinking. Obviously, it didn't work though because he got divorced, right?
Yes, so it didn't really work out too well, but I don't know if he really minded
But
it so much.
he's great. I really liked him. There was something in the lecture that Dr. Prozagari mentioned where Wilde kind of introduced these three characters, but they kind of symbolize the same person or like three different aspects or
Hmm.
personalities of people. What do you think about that? Maybe we're stepping out of like the conversation of,
Um,
but
I think it was a quote that Wilde himself said that he sees
oh,
all three aspects of himself in Basil, Dorian, and Lord Henry. And I think he said he throughout different points of his life. I think it was what it was. I don't know. I don't have the lecture in front of me, but I
yeah.
believe it was something along those lines.
I wonder if why do you think he chose to focus more on Dorian as like his main character? Is it maybe something
I
that he couldn't do in
I
real life?
think it's because, well, because Dorian, in my opinion, is kind of a mix between
Of both.
Basil
Yeah.
and Henry. And it's also what Wilde couldn't do because, I mean, well, he lived, he was married to a woman and he had
Hmm.
kids, but he also lived an underground, I guess you could say, lifestyle
Yeah.
that didn't quite work out for him, and that's the novel was actually used against him in his trial, but that's kind of going off topic.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
know that.
yeah, his life is actually very fascinating. Um, but it's because of the way Victorian society was at the time. I mean, you
Yeah.
couldn't have that kind of a lifestyle. You were deemed a heathen. You were arrested, and that's what happened to him. He was basically sentenced to hard labor, and that basically was the end of his career and ultimately the end of his life. So,
I think I'm glad that you brought up the period because I feel, don't you think that the idea of individualism and collectivism, I think it's a concept that we learned. I learned it in a different semester. Virginia Woolf talked a lot about it.
oh,
Like
okay.
it was a little bit further away, but I feel that it started during Wilde's time. Like that whole idea, I'm not saying that it developed, but I think that there was a need or a desire to express yourself, both in men and women. Would you agree with that? Or maybe
I
I don't
think the
know.
Victorian era was very stuffy, so to
Yeah.
speak, because just 100 years earlier in the Georgian era, I mean, men were going around in pink suits and blue suits and had powdered wigs, and Victorian, they're all wearing black suits with ties and the
Hmm.
hats, and we kind of still have that today, where men are expected to wear the black suits when they go out as a
Yeah.
professional setting and such. So I feel like that's still like kind of tradition in today's society. But
And we get
our
that's where we get
social
the
expectations
yes,
have,
our
adapted.
standards, right? Social standards. But would you agree that maybe that idea started like during Wilde's time, where he, what made him become so confident in writing a book about it?
I think it's because he was
Unless there was other people who are feeling the same way, or it's always been a thing in society, maybe is what you're saying.
I think it's always been a thing, and he was also a playwright, so his plays were pretty comedic. So
Okay,
if he wrote that way, he could people could laugh him off during his plays, so to speak. But his novel was actually taken very seriously
very
because it
seriously.
was his only novel, and it's kind of used against him in his trial.
Yeah.
But
So we would say that we still have some issues obviously happening like that today in
oh,
society.
for sure.
That's so
But
true. I mean, are you able to be yourself completely all the time or to express to be a Lord Harry?
I don't think anybody is actually able to
Yeah,
be that all the time. I think everybody wears a mask,
a
so to
mask.
speak. Um, Depending on the social situations they're in, who they're surrounded by, professional settings or casual settings. I think it just totally varies, but I think everybody is has a mask at some point.
Something came up to kind of popped in. So maybe, okay, do you think that that was Basil's ultimate mistake that he couldn't open up? Because Lord Harry opened up, he wasn't afraid to speak his mind. We already talked about that.
Basil was
Basil,
very
I'm not sure about Basil.
He's was very timid. You
Yeah,
could tell right from the very beginning. He met Dorian. He had an
he was
infatuation with
cautious.
him,
Okay.
and then he did the painting, and he didn't want Lord Henry to meet Dorian. He kind of wanted to keep
Because he
Dorian all
knew.
to himself, which is completely understandable. Like he didn't want Dorian to be like corrupted by Henry's influence, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. So, but maybe it was, I think Dorian's ultimate mistake was not being able to open up. Like he had trouble opening up with his friends and telling him exactly what he was doing, his failures. He had an opportunity.
He did, but he kind of the going back to the angel and the devil on the shoulder, he kind of listened more to the devil side, and he started realizing, I'm young, I can live this life. I There's no repercussions. I'm not gonna age. The painting's gonna take all the abuse, and I'll stay young and beautiful forever.
Can I ask you if that scene where he kills Basil, an image popped in my mind, but I don't know if it did with you, but I was reminded about the story in the Bible about Cain and
Okay,
Abel. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not completely familiar. I know a bit about it.
Okay, so Cain kills Abel. Abel
Hmm.
is like a Basil. He's very cautious. He has good standards. He lives a good quality life. And
Okay.
Cain is the complete opposite, but they're brothers. And so he kills him out of spite because he's jealous of him because Basil is the good one and he could never live up to his standards. And I feel that the fact that Dorian killed him was because he didn't like the fact that Basil confronted it first of all. But
Yeah.
I think he also knew that he could never be like him. I don't know. Do you what do you think
That
about that?
Dorian could never be a Basila?
Yeah. Do you think that maybe he like why would he kill somebody? I don't get it. I
Ha
don't get it.
Had he never taken Harry's influence and stayed naive, maybe he could have been, or maybe that
Yeah.
inner monster, so to speak, was always inside of him, and Harry was the one that helped him release that into onto himself and know who he was, and also into society, so to speak.
And
Um,
Basil's a person that's holding him back.
because yes, and Basil was holding him back, so he was in the way, and he had to get rid of an obstacle.
Okay. Okay. So maybe it was just my imagination was going crazy.
It could be interpreted different ways, of course. I mean,
I
that's the
really
great
thought
thing.
about that story in the Bible. Okay. Should we discuss the questions?
Yeah, we do have a couple questions, discussion questions that I think need to be discussed. Um so we have three questions. Do you want to go ahead and do the first one or
Yeah, I'll do the first one. So these three questions stem from the close reading. So we do think, like we said earlier, that the close reading is a jumping off point for Dorian to um, realize like who he wants to be, how he wants to love, how he wants to live his life. Um, I think he pays more attention to the self, and to him that's freeing. So the first question is, what do you make of these representations of love? Is one being devotion as a moral virtue versus hedonism or living in the moment? Is one portrayal of love better than the other? Why or why not? I think it's worth mentioning that, is all hedonism wrong? Because I think that's the defined term is just like having pleasure in the moment, right? Yeah, finding pleasure in
basically
the
living
moment,
living in the
basically.
moment, so to speak, and not
Yeah.
really caring about the repercussions. Yeah.
And I would say that Wild is challenging that. I think that there should be a balance. That's kind of my perspective. I think too much devotion, like Sybil was willing to do, kind of I think that's what she also had to die. I think Wilde had to kill that representation that society holds of like only living for somebody else, especially for women.
Hmm.
And I think her death represents that, like let that idea die and find a balance where you can pay attention to yourself to kind of like live out your desires, your needs, your career, but also love somebody else. So that's where that question kind of like stemmed from.
And I think that really ties into the whole aspect of what was in the lecture this week about the self.
Hmm.
And how, yeah, you have to love yourself. And, basically, Dorian needed to be number one. He couldn't have any distractions. She was preventing him from living the kind of life that he wanted to live. So, he said,
Yeah.
well, forget this. I'm not going to live like this.
You can't love
And
yourself if you don't, you can't love others if you don't love yourself, I've heard.
right. And he thought he loved himself, but he
Yeah.
just loved the idea of being young and beautiful. And he didn't really love the inner person that he was, the monster inside of him.
Yeah. True.
Um, so another discussion question we had was, how does Basil's type of love differ from Sybil's love of Dorian? Um, and then it elaborates into what were society's views on homosexuality in Victorian England, and what are some homoerotic undertones in Wilde's Gothic novel. So I think that both Sybil and Basil were infatuated with Dorian. I don't know if any of them really truly loved him. I think they liked the idea of him.
Yes, I agree.
Um, but they didn't know the real person. And if they didn't know the real person, how could they truly love him? Um, that's my
That's
perspective.
what I was saying, that he was always hiding himself.
Yes. So I'm not sure that their love differs a whole lot, except Basil was, of course, a man, Sybil was a woman. And of course, society would not have accepted any sort of romantic relationship if that Basil had wanted to pursue with Dorian. It would have had to be an underground relationship behind closed doors, of course.
Yeah.
Um, whereas Sybil's could be viewed freely. But also there would be like I think classism with Sybil because two different classes. Dorian was considered a gentleman, and he had important
Yeah.
people around him, and Henry and all these people. And Sybil was, like we discussed earlier, was performing Shakespeare plays at you know back alleys, back alley theaters.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I want to ask you on that question. Do you think that Dorian, or there's any like you said, undertones, is there any mention where we can see Dorian's affection towards Basil in the same way?
I think before he really meets Harry that he's willing to accept Basil as more of a friend and I don't want to say romantic partner, but he's willing to accept the way Basil is, I guess you could say, before Harry comes into the picture and starts really influencing him.
Okay.
And then Dorian gets in his mind that he wants to live a certain way, and Basil like Sybil was an obstacle,
Okay.
and yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
Um, okay, and then another question we had was based on what we know about Lord Henry, was Basil right not to want him to meet Dorian, and how did his influence Dorian to change from being an innocent youth to a hedonist? Well, I think that's pretty obvious. It starts at chapter one, I believe,
Hmm.
where Basil said, hey, I didn't want you to meet Dorian. I wanted to keep him to myself. And Harry acts all offended. Oh, why didn't you want me to meet him? I want to meet this guy. He just showed up at your house. And I
It's
think
almost like
Basil,
he's oblivious to like his own influence, or he
he's
doesn't want
oblivious.
to.
Yes, he's oblivious to his own influence. He's also oblivious to his own, I guess you could say, corruption. Because Basil,
Yeah.
of course, thought that Lord Henry would corrupt him, would corrupt
Yeah.
Dorian. And of course, he was right.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what happened with Basil and what happened with Dorian. But he just
There's one.
basically I
No, go
mean
ahead.
Lord Henry just basically showed him how to live a hedonistic life, and Dorian was naive and young, and he just was like a puppy following his owner, and basically did whatever whatever Henry wanted him to do.
Henry.
Yeah.
Do you think that Henry contradicts what he says? Did he go as far as Dorian? Or was he just were his words um did he say things that he didn't do himself? I didn't see him living such, what is the worst thing that he did other than just hang out? Like I'm not sure that he believed, or he did believe what he was saying, but he didn't carry it
he
out. That's what I'm trying
like
to
hung
say.
out in like opium dens and stuff, and but like we said, he had an open marriage and with his
Yeah.
wife, it seemed like. But I don't think he went to the extreme that Dorian
Yeah.
did. And I think in some sense that he might have been jealous of Dorian, that Dorian went and was able to do all these things that he perhaps wanted to do. So in a way, he kind of like lived vicariously through Dorian by
He
his
made
own
that clear
actions.
to Dorian. He said,
Hmm.
if I could go back in time, if
Yeah,
I could be as beautiful as you, my
right.
life would be different, right?
Yeah, he did. And so I
There's
think, of
also
course,
a
he was obviously
passage.
jealous.
I didn't think, oh, Oh, we got it 10 minutes. Okay, I didn't think he was jealous, but now that you brought it up, it does seem that way.
Yeah,
Can we?
I'm not sure, but I think that's my opinion, how I read it. Um,
There we go. Now I can see you. Sorry, I got like a little pop-up.
oh, I'm sorry. I
That's okay.
okay. Um, is there anything else we should touch on?
I think that was it.
Let's talk about just really quick what makes it gothic.
Oh yeah, horror and madness and
Um,
deformity.
Horror, madness, deformity, monsters. What do you think makes the novel gothic?
I would
Because
say I thought about this a lot, and obviously it has to do with the art, I think, with the picture, showing showing Dorian's true self.
hmm
Um, but I think it's the horror of accepting, of knowing who you are and not being able to be free in that. I think it's not being able to be free. That's the horror that I think Wilde is trying to express.
yeah. Um, I think what makes it pretty gothic is there's a physical monster, which is the painting that everyone
Hmm.
sees, and it's deformed and it's grotesque. And then there's the inner monster, which is Dorian himself, who may be absolutely young and beautiful and untouched on the outside, but inside he is a monster to himself and to society, how he acts. At least by, Victorian standards and wild writing. But I think
I don't
that's
want
what
to think about him
definitely
as a monster. I still quite like Dorian.
Dorian is a great character. Dorian is an absolutely great character, but inside he is very flawed.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, would
So
you say
it's
you
the
had?
monster that lives inside of him and then what's
Hmm.
being reflected.
Yes, I think that's definitely what makes it gothic. What would you say you had a favorite character?
You're not gonna agree with me, but it was Lord Henry.
Okay, I do not agree. My
Yeah,
favorite was Basil.
Basil. I think he's the expected character that everybody would love, but there's something about Lord Henry that I like, and it's just being unapologetic, being straightforward. Maybe it's because I struggle with that. So it's
He's
like
definitely a
maybe just
unique
having a little bit of
character.
a little Lord Henry in me would do me well.
Just a little, right?
Just a little, just a little. Okay, I
Um,
think this ends our discussion. How do you feel, Gerald?
I think we covered a lot of aspects. We covered the
Okay.
close reading, and we covered what makes it gothic. We talked about some characters. We talked about
The
monstrosities,
themes of love. Yep.
themes, love, sexuality, and society. I think we covered it well.
Do we endorse this book? We said yes.
Oh, 1,000,000% yes. I
Yeah.
absolutely love this book. This has been my favorite novel we've read so far, with Frankenstein being an absolute close second. I really enjoyed Frankenstein as
Yeah.
well.
Same here.
But
This
I
is
think
my ultimate favorite so far.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
saying a lot because I enjoy the yellow wallpaper. So yeah.
Oh yeah. They've all been great. They've all been great, honestly. But okay, I think we're gonna go ahead
All
and sign
right.
off here.
Yep.
So hope you guys enjoyed our presentation, and we will
Thank you so much for listening.
yeah, thank you for listening. I'll see you later.